Okay, good morning everyone. Today we will be discussing about the CMTA section 801 to 817. Okay, so section 801, it explains who creates, who controls, and who guards the customs bonded warehouses in the Philippines. Okay, so think of a CBW as a baggage counter or VIP baggage counter at a mall, no? You can leave your items there safely, but you don't pay any duties and taxes on the imported goods inside until until you officially take them out into the Philippine market. Okay, so first, when the business of the port requires such facilities, the district collector, subject to the approval of the commissioner, shall designate and establish warehouses. So what does it mean? So the district collector, which is the head of the uh, which is the head customs official at the specific port like Manila or Cebu, will decide if a port needs a warehouse. However, the top boss, which is the customs commissioner or the head of the Bureau of Customs, must give the final approval. Okay, and as to the types of facilities, so we have public bonded warehouse, which is open to multiple importers or companies, while the private bonded warehouse, it is used exclusively by one specific company for its own imported materials. And we also have a special purpose warehouses, which is the outdoor areas for heavy cargo, machinery, or vehicles. Okay? And the law says all such warehouses and premises shall be subject to the supervision of the district collector, who shall impose such conditions as may be deemed necessary for the protection of the revenue. So what does it mean? Even though a private company might own or rent the building, the Bureau of Customs holds the key. Why? In order to protect the government revenue. No, the customs officers monitor what enters and leaves the warehouse to ensure that no goods are smuggled out into the local market na hindi nagbabayad ng taxes. Next, existing contracts of private operators with appropriate government agency or regulator such as PPA, SBMA, and PIA shall not be impaired. So this means that the Bureau of Customs works alongside other government agencies that manage ports and special economic zones. So the Bureau of Customs cannot just override contracts or rules established by these other agencies. Right? So for example, as to the garments and textile manufacturer or private CBW, so let's say there's a garment manufacturing plant in Laguna na nag-i-import ng heavy spools ng denim fabric, no, from Vietnam or from other country to produce jeans that will be exported to the United States. So how the section 801 applies? So the factory owner applies to set up a private manufacturing customs bonded warehouse inside their plant or sa kanilang planta, no? Then the district collector of the Port of Manila or let's say sa Batangas with the Bureau of Customs Commissioner's approval, maigagrant yung status na yon. Okay? So the imported denim stays in this warehouse duty-free and tax-free, provided na yung finished jeans are exported out of the Philippines. And yung assigned BOC customs guard or inspector, sila yung mag-oversee ng inventory to make sure na yung walang raw denim na secretly ibebenta, let's say, sa Divisoria without paying customs duties. Okay? Again, who will approve the district collector recommends and designates, and the Bureau of Customs Commissioner will approve. Okay, and the district collector via assigned customs officer or guards will supervise. Okay, so the primary goal of this section 801 is to protect the government revenue, which is the taxes and duties, and ensure that the goods stored under the bond are not illegally released into the local market. Okay, and to make sure that the companies don't cheat and secretly sell these raw materials in the local market ng tax-free, the Bureau of Customs strictly enforces these 5 requirements. So let's break down these 5 conditions. First, post a bond or security. So the law says the manufacturer shall file sufficient security for the faithful observance of all laws, rules, and regulations applicable thereto. So in simple terms, the company must deposit a financial guarantee, no? Yun yung tinatawag natin na customs bond na inissued by an accredited surety company. Why? Because it acts as insurance. No, if the company fails to export the finished goods or breaks customs laws, so the Bureau of Customs will use this money to cover the unpaid duties and taxes. Next condition, which is related to written application. So the application, the law says the application for the establishment of bonded warehouse must be made in writing and filed with the customs officers, describing the premises, the location, and capacity of the same, and the purpose for which the building is to be used. Okay, in simple terms, the company cannot just open a warehouse silently. They must submit a formal written proposal detailing the warehouse, the storage capacity, and also the precise location and target products. Why? Because the Bureau of Customs needs a complete blueprint ng facility to determine if it meets the physical security standards bago nila yun i-approve. Okay, next condition with regards to site inspection and physical evaluation. So the losses from the receipt of the application, the customs officer shall examine the premises, evaluate its location, constructions, and means provided for the safekeeping of the goods. So in simple terms, the Bureau of Customs inspectors will physically visit the facility to inspect the doors, the locks, the perimeter fences, the CCTV coverage, and the storage spaces. Why? Because they must verify that the warehouse is secure enough para ma-prevent yung theft, leakage, or unauthorized removal ng mga imported items. Okay, next condition is related to final approval and bond acceptance. So the law says the customs officer may authorize the establishment of the customs bonded warehouse and accept a bond for its operation and maintenance if the applicant was compliant with the prescribed requirements. So let's say it says here na once inspection is passed, no, and yung paperwork is verified, the Bureau of Customs will grant an official certificate of authority to operate. So what's the validity of that? No, in the Philippines, no, this authority is valid for 3 years or coterminous with the facilities lease contract. So let's say ang lease contract ng facility ay 2 years lang. So therefore, 2 years lang yung validity ng authority to operate na yon. Hindi siya pwede maging 3 years. Okay, so it is so-called coterminous with the facilities lease contract. Next condition, the operator of the bonded warehouse shall pay an annual supervision fee in an amount to be fixed by the commissioner. So it says here na yung warehouse owner magbabayad ng recurring annual fee to the Bureau of Customs because to cover the administrative cost and yung salaries or operations ng customs guards and personnel na naka-assign doon to monitor their warehouses. Next. Okay, under the Section 802, the CBWs in the Philippines are divided into two primary groups, which is the manufacturing CBWs and the non-manufacturing CBWs. As to the manufacturing CBWs, ito yung facilities where raw materials are imported duty and tax-free to be processed or turned into finished good na subject for export. And for the non-manufacturing CBWs, this is the facilities used primarily para sa storage, also distribution or handling of goods na hindi dumadaan ng or hindi nag-undergo ng manufacturing or transformation. Okay? And for the manufacturing, we have miscellaneous customs banded warehouse, customs common banded warehouse, and industry-specific banded warehouse. For the non-manufacturing customs banded warehouse, we have public banded warehouse, private banded warehouse, and other customs facilities. Okay, so for the while the section 802 focuses on long-term storage and manufacturing warehouses. For the section 803 will cover the customs facilities and warehouses or the CFWs. So this is, let's say, the CFWs as the transit holding areas or layover station at any port or seaport. When cargo first arrives in the Philippines on a ship or airplane, it doesn't immediately go to a mall or factory store. No? It will sit temporarily sa mga CFW for unloading, for inspection, and sorting while customs paperwork is being processed. So there are four types of customs facilities and warehouses. First is the container yard, container freight station, seaport warehouses, airport warehouses, and so. Okay, so we will discuss that later on. Okay, so there is a special rule, creation and dissolution of warehouses. As to the provision, subject to the consultation with the NEDA and DTI, and based on prevailing economic circumstances, the Secretary of Finance may, upon the recommendation of the Commissioner, will create or dissolve certain types of warehouses. So what this means, no? In simple terms, the customs rules are not completely frozen in time. So if trade grows or economic needs change, no, the government can invent new types of warehouses or they can also shut down obsolete ones. Okay, so who will recommend that? The Bureau of Customs Commissioner. And who will approve? The Secretary of Finance. Okay, who must be consulted first? The NEDA and the DTI. Okay, the NEDA to check the macroeconomic impact, and the DTI is to protect the trade and local business interest. Okay? So kailangan mo na silang i-consult bago mag-invent yung government ng new types of warehouses or bago mag-shutdown ng mga obsolete ones. Okay. Okay, so as to Section 804, application for operation of customs warehouse. Okay, so it is all about let's say a company or before a company can enjoy importing goods ng duty free and tax free, they must undergo a strict vetting process. So, si Section 804, nag-set siya ng 4-step approval pipeline. Okay? So, let's say, let's say, si para sa isang customs warehouse, mag-a-apply siya like opening a licensed pharmacy. So, hindi ka pwedeng bumili ng medicine and open a store lang, no? So, you have to submit floor plans to the government and pass physical safety inspection, post financial security, and pay an annual license fee, no? Bago ka makapag-operate ng makapag-operate agad, no? So first, filing the written application. So application for the establishment of the CBW and CFW shall be filed with the district collector where the CBW or CFW is located, describing the premises, location, capacity, and purpose thereof. So, where to file this written application? At the local Bureau of Customs Collection District na merong jurisdiction over the property. Okay? So, let's say sa Port of Manila, kung within Port of Manila ka, or Port of Batangas if within Port of Batangas ka. Okay? And what to submit? The complete blueprints, the title or list of contracts, and also the floor plans showing the storage and production areas, and also the target capacity and the business purpose. Next is the physical inspection by customs. Okay, so what happens here? The Bureau of Customs is the inspectors conduct an ocular site visit. So, what do they check? First is the perimeter security, which is kung meron bang high fences, meron bang like lock yung mga gates nila, meron bang silang CCTVs. Okay? And also, they will check the storage segregation. So, separate secure areas para doon sa mga raw materials, para sa finished products, and also para doon sa mga waste or scrap. And also, they will check the customs office space na dedicated desk space para dun sa mga assigned BOC officers or guards to monitor the inventory. Third one is related to the approval and security bond acceptance. Security bond, no? Ito yung bond. So, who will decide? The district collector will evaluate and recommends, but the top boss, which is the Bureau of Customs Commissioner, will issue the final authorization. And as to the posting of security, so yung applicant will post a customs bond or surety bond. This money guarantees that if yung business violates law or smuggles goods, so the government gets paid through that customs bond or surety bond. Okay? Next, fourth one, related to payment of annual supervision fee. So why pay this fee? Why do we need to pay this fee? It covers the administrative cost of the government oversight. Included dyan yung mga salaries and operations ng BOC inspectors, no, na naka-assign doon para i-monitor yung kanilang facilities. Next, Section 805. So, while the Section 804 explains kung paano makakuha ng license for a warehouse, this Section 805 spells out the role of the responsibility for running one. Okay? So, imagine, nagre-rent ka ng luxury car. So, the owner hands you the keys, no? But you are responsible for fueling it, keeping it safe from theft, and showing your driver's license if pulled over by the traffic enforcers. And kung yung car naman ay nanakaw because you left the keys inside, you pay for it, not the government. Okay? Okay, so let's break this down. As to the Section 805, the losses, the operator or a CBW or CFW shall comply with the customs requirements on establishment, security, suitability, and management, including stock keeping and accounting of the goods of the CBW or CFW. So this is all about the general compliance and inventory management. No, so it means that the warehouse operator must maintain organized digital and physical record keeping books. So every single item entering or leaving the building must be tracked down to the exact quantity, weight, and value. So there is a requirements. It should be strict security measures or yung dapat meron silang CCTV systems, meron silang security guards and control gates, no? And also up to date ang kanilang accounting ledgers showing na yung kanilang raw materials inputs versus doon sa exported finished goods. Next, this is all about the duty to allow inspections and audits. So this means that the Bureau of Customs auditors or inspectors can make surprise or schedule visits. No, the operator cannot turn them away or hide accounting books. So hindi sila pwedeng magtago, no? Hindi nila pwedeng paalisin yung mga inspectors or auditors pag nag-visit sa kanila. Why? Because customs needs to verify na yung imported materials na nakastored without tax are not being quietly smuggled, no, through the back door into the local market. Third one, it is all about the liability for lost goods and government exemptions. So this means that if the goods are stolen, destroyed, or misplaced because of the operator's carelessness or illegal acts, yung operator dapat magbayad siya immediately ng original, no? Lahat ng original customs duties and taxes na utang niya sa government. Okay, so that's the operator payability and also the government immunity. So the Bureau of Customs supervises the site, but the government is not an insurance company. Okay, so the government will not reimburse the owner if cargo gets lost or damaged inside the facility. Next, Section 806. Okay, so Section 806 outlines who is the ultimate boss inside the CBWs and CFWs. While a private business owner might pay the lease or build the physical warehouse, the BOC holds total legal authority over the premises and every item stored inside that premises. Okay, so think of a customs warehouse like airport security area, no? So yung private airline might own the airplanes and pay the flight attendants, but inside the terminal and boarding gates, merong office for transportation security and airport police, no? Na nag-set ng rules, no, doon. And you cannot open doors or move bags without their permission. Okay, so let's break down the section 806. The first is related to extent of customs control and legal references. So the law says the Bureau shall, for customs purposes, exercise control over, direct, and manage CBWs and CFWs pursuant to Section 303 of this Act, and likewise over the goods thereat pursuant to Section 301 of this Act. So the Section 806 connects directly to two major power pillars in the CMTA. First is the 301, which is control over premises. It gives the Bureau of Customs exclusive control and also direction and management over all the customs facilities, offices, and warehouses. So even if a private operator owns a lot, no, so meron siyang lupa, the Bureau of Customs officers have legal authority over that operations, entries, or exits, and security locks. Okay, and also the second one is the section 301, which is control over the goods, no? So it gives the Bureau of Customs authority over all goods na papasok or aalis sa Philippines, whether taxable or duty-free. Okay, from the moment it arrives until it is legally released, exported, or disposed of. Next, the losses provided that the Bureau shall not be liable for any loss or damage of the goods stored for safekeeping in any CBW, CFW yard or premises. So this is all about the government exemption from the liability. Even though the Bureau of Customs controls access and manages operations, the government is not a security guard service or an insurer, no? So the rule here, if stored cargo gets destroyed by typhoon or damaged by water leaks or stolen by thieves inside doon sa warehouse, so the warehouse operator or cargo owner cannot sue. No? Hindi niya pwedeng habulin si government para bayaran yung nawala niya or nasira niyang cargo. Okay, so the risk remains with the warehouse operator or importer. Next, Section 807 governs the discontinuance or closure or cancellation of a customs bonded warehouse or CFW or CBW. Okay, so let's say closing a customs warehouse like closing a bank account or surrendering a leased apartment. So, hindi ka lang pwedeng basta lang mag-pack up and mag-walk away overnight. Okay, so the bank must audit your balance to make sure you have no unpaid debts. Wala kang unpaid na utang, no? And you must safely move all your belongings, no, at your own expense before the account is officially closed. So there are two ways of the discontinuance rather. So first, the use of any CBW and CFW may be discontinued by the district collector when conditions so warrant or upon the receipt of a written request from the operator thereof. So a customs warehouse can be closed down in one of two ways. First is voluntary discontinuance. No? Let's say the operator decides to shut down operations and submit a written request to the district collector. So that is the first way. The second is the involuntary discontinuance, meaning si district collector nag-order ng closure because conditions so warrant. For example, si operator nag-commit siya ng fraud, na-breach niya yung security, and failed to renew their license or remained inactive for over a year. So that is fall under the involuntary discontinuance. Right? And next, no? Next is the losses where dutiable goods are stored in such premises, the same must be removed at the risk and expense of the operator. So this is related to moving goods at the operator's expense. So let's say if yung cargo, if the cargo is still stored inside when the warehouse shut down, no, it cannot remain there untaxed. So the rule here is the warehouse operator must pay out of pocket to move the cargo to another licensed customs warehouse or clear it by paying the duties and taxes. Okay, so the government will not spend a single peso to transfer these goods. Next, next, the law says the premises shall not be relinquished and its use shall not be discontinued until after and careful examination of the account of the warehouse shall have been made, effective upon approval thereof by the district collector, who shall within 10 days inform the commissioner of such action in writing. So this is all about the mandatory audit and 10-day notice. Okay, so for the first step, which is the audit, no, si customs auditors will perform a final audit ng warehouse books just to ensure na no imported raw materials mysteriously disappeared nang hindi nagbabayad ng duties and taxes. And the step B, which is the approval and reporting. So once cleared na, the district collector approves the closure and must formally report the action to the Bureau of Customs Commissioner within 10 days. Next, notice of discontinuance made by the operator shall not result in the discharge from any duties, taxes, fees, and other charges imposed on dutiable goods in said warehouse. So this is related to no escaping the taxes or penalties. So what does it mean? Filing for a closure does not erase or cancel any outstanding tax liabilities, and also fines or fees owed to the government. Okay. Next, section 808. So it is about when an importer brings raw materials or products into a CBW, they don't have to pay duties and taxes upfront. But to prevent importers from taking the goods and disappearing without paying taxes, the Section 808 mandates a security requirement. Okay, so let's break down the Section 808. So for the goods declared in entry for warehousing in CBW, the district collector shall require the importer to post a sufficient security. So this who requires the security? So the district collector, which is the head of the local BOC port district, such as the Port of Manila, and so he is or she is responsible for ensuring the bond is posted before approving the entry of the goods into the warehouse. And how much security is required? The law says equivalent to the computed duties and taxes and other charges. So meaning, the financial value ng security bond is 100%. 100% equal or equivalent to the total duties and taxes and government fees that the importer would have paid if the goods were directly imported for domestic sale. Okay, so it is usually in the form of a general warehousing bond provided by the Bureau of Customs accredited surety company. Next, conditioned upon the withdrawal of the goods within the period prescribed by Section 811 of this Act, or the payment of duties, taxes, and other charges and compliance with all importations requirements. So the government holds onto this security guarantee until one of two legal conditions is met. First is the importer processes the raw materials, manufactures finished products, and export them out of the Philippines within the allowed storage period. Okay? So once exported, your security bond is cancelled or released. And the next one is for the local payment. So if the importer decides to sell that goods locally instead na i-export nila, so they will pay the complete duties and taxes and comply with all the import permits. Okay, Section 809 outlines the legal process and requirements for taking imported raw materials or products out of a customs bonded warehouse. So think of taking that goods out of the CBW, like nagwi-withdraw ka ng money from bank or checking out an item from a high security school library. So hindi lang pwedeng mag-walk in ka lang and kumuha ka ng mga item and umalis ka. No, you must fill out a formal withdrawal slip, which is nagsiserve as your permit, no? And proof you have clearance, or kung meron ka security bond or bond, and only the registered owner lang or authorized agent lang yung allowed to process it. Okay, so let's break down the section 809. As to the requirement of a withdrawal permit, no? So the first sentence here means that the goods stored inside a CBW are under customs control. No, they cannot move without prior written or electronic approval. So there's a necessary documents to be submitted. The withdrawal permit. This is a formal request specifying yung quantity, description, and destination ng goods. No? And then, the supporting documents, which is the bill of lading, commercial invoice, packing list, or re-exportation documents. Next, no, the three destination for withdrawn goods. So once the withdrawal permit is granted, yung imported items can only go to one of three legal destinations. First is the consumption, which is the local domestic sale. So yung importer decides to bring the goods into the local Philippine market. So the requirement is that you need to pay the full duties and taxes and also the excise tax before the release of that goods from the warehouse. Next destination is for transit, no? So the goods are being moved from one customs office or warehouse to another, okay, under custom seals. And the last one is for exportation or re-export, no? Yung raw materials inassembled into finished goods are shipped out of the country. So yung requirement dyan is yung proof of export. Okay? Who can make the withdrawal? Okay, so there's a rule, no? Random trucks drivers or third parties cannot just show up and pick up the goods, no? Only yung mga accredited CBW operator lang or their official authorized customs broker or representative can execute the withdrawal. Next, section 810. This specifically covers the rules for releasing goods from the CFW, such as yung mga container yards, airport cargo sheds, or port warehouse. Okay, and let's break down the section 810. So the first, the law says, no, imported goods shall be released when the goods declaration is electronically lodged, together with any related document required by any provision of this Act and other regulations. So this means that the physical paper, no, the physical paper claims are a thing of the past. So to get goods out of a port or airport warehouse, yung importer or customs broker must log into the Bureau of Customs online portal. Yun yung E2M system. And electronically file the goods declaration. No? So, the required electronic documents are the commercial invoice, packing list, BL, and so on. No? And proof of tax or duty payment. Next, the time frame rule. All goods entered into the CFWs shall be subject to the filing of a goods declaration within the period specific under the Section 407 of this Act. So what is Section 407? Under the Section 407 of the CMTA, the importer must file or lodge their goods declaration within 15 calendar days from the date of the last package is discharged from the ship or aircraft. So can it be extended? Yes, for another 15 days, provided that the importer will submit a valid written request before the first 15-day deadline expires. Okay? So what happens if you miss the deadline? So your shipment is considered impliedly abandoned and the government can seize and auction yung goods mo. Next, Section 811 sets the maximum time limits imported goods can sit inside the CBW nang hindi nagbabayad ng duties and taxes upfront. Okay, because goods in the CBW are stored tax deferred and the government sets strict deadlines just to ensure that yung raw materials na yon are either processed or re-exported or properly taxed in a timely manner. Okay, so the golden rule here in section 811. So the law says that the goods entered for warehousing may remain in a CBW for a maximum period of 1 year from the time of its arrival thereat. So this is the standard deadline, 1 year, maximum of 1 year starting from the exact date that the goods arrived at the CBW. So what is the applicability of this? It applies to the most non-perishable goods or general goods and standard raw materials katulad ng fabrics, mga metal sheets, mga plastic resins, mga electronic chips, no? So dyan yan. And the next one for the perishable goods, no? It shall be 3 months from the date of arrival, extendable for valid reasons, and upon written request to another 3 months. So 3 months maximum is the base period and it can be extended for up to another 3 months for a total of 6 months. Provided na mayroong formal written request na na-file and the importer provides ng valid reason, no? Let's say merong delayed shipping schedules or unexpected manufacturing downtime para ma-approve yung extension. Next, goods not withdrawn after the expiration of the prescribed period shall be deemed as abandoned as provided under Section 1129 of this Act. So what happens here? If, let's say, if the maximum allowed storage period lapses and the importer fails to withdraw the goods either for export or for local consumption, so the goods become abandoned. No? So the consequence here, the government takes ownership of the goods under the Section 1129 and can put them up for a public auction or forfeiture to recover lost revenues. Next, no, this is all about the extended period for complex manufacturing. So why this rule exists? No, some complex manufacturing industries like yung mga aerospace components, yung mga shipbuilding or specialized heavy machinery take much longer than 1 year, no? So mas matagal yung kanyang pagmamanufacture, no? Mas matagal pa sa 1 year. Okay? So who will approve it? So the Customs Commissioner consult the DTI Secretary and the final extension guidelines are approved by the Secretary of Finance. Next, Section 812 establishes the core benefits of using a CBW. Conditional tax-free storage and raw material importation. So when the goods are properly entered into a CBW, si government defers or pauses the collection ng import duties and taxes while the goods remain inside that warehouse. Okay, so the ultimate fate of those goods, whether exported or sold locally or transferred, will determine how their customs paperwork is closed out, or a process called of liquidation of entry. No? So let's break down the section 812. No? The law says that goods duly entered for the warehousing in CBWs shall be exempt from duty and tax within the allowed period for storage. So how it works? So the importers do not pay 12% VAT or import duties when raw materials arrived at the port and moved directly into the CBW. So this exemption is temporary, okay, and limited to the allowed storage time frame lang. So let's say 1 year, no, under the section 811. Next, unless withdrawn for consumption, exportation, or transit to a free zone or another CBW. So when the goods leave the warehouse, they can take one of three legal paths. First is the exportation, like what I said earlier. No, the raw materials are converted into the finished product and shipped out of the Philippines. So the result will be full tax exemption standards. The second is the transit to a free zone or to another CBW. So yung materials are moved to another bonded facility or free port zone like Clark or Subic and will result into duty exemption and continues under a new bond. Okay, and lastly, uh, local domestic sale or for consumption. So the importer decides na i-release yung items into the Philippine local market. So yung result nun, the tax exemption is revoked and full duties plus VAT must be paid. Next, in which case such withdrawal will be subject to the applicable rules and regulations on the liquidation of the warehousing entry. So what is liquidation? It is the official accounting process, no? Kung saan yung importer proves that the Bureau of Customs what happened to the duty-free raw material. So how it works? So the importers present proof like yung mga export bills of lading and so na nagmamatch doon sa raw materials inputs to finish outputs, no, based doon sa formula of manufacture. So once balance, si BOC kakancel niya yung corresponding warehousing bond. Next, Section 813 sets the strict record keeping and reporting rules for the CBW operators. Okay, so because the CBWs are allowed to store the imported raw materials nang hindi nagbabayad ng taxes upfront, si BOC nire-require niya yung full transparency. Okay, so let's break down the 813. First is related to dual record keeping and electronic reporting. So there are two systems of record here, the Bureau's record and the operator's report. So BOC will track what enters the CBW on their side via the declaration and customs entries. And then the second one, the CBW operator must maintain a detailed ledger ng lahat ng goods na pumapasok or inputs and leaving or outputs or withdrawal. Okay, so the format, CBOC magdidictates how these reports look, and today they require electronic submissions such as yung online inventory management systems na nakalink sa BOC database. Okay, next. This is related to duty to produce records upon demand. So,
Ma'am, good morning po.
for
Pasensya
the
po.
on-demand inspection.
Ma'am Bunda po, present. Date lang kaninang onte.
The district
Aray.
collector or the authorized BOC auditors can show up and demand to look at all financial books, inventory sheets, invoices, and digital records. So the operators cannot claim the accountant is absent or the files are lost. No? So yung records must be ready for review at any reasonable time. Okay? Next is for record purposes, all documents shall be kept for 3 years. So the mandatory holding period, so every single receipt, the bill of lading, the import entry, and so on, must be safely archived for at least 3 years. Okay, why 3 years? This aligns with the post-clearance audit period under the Philippine Customs Law, no? And allowing the Bureau of Customs auditors to re-examine yung mga historical transactions within 3-year window. Next, Section 814 governs the movement of goods in and out of free zones in the Philippines. So it sets the rules for two main actions, the admission and withdrawal for customs territory. So admission, bringing foreign imported goods into a free zone, which is the duty-free territory, and withdrawal for customs territory. So meaning moving goods out of that free zone and into the regular Philippine domestic market, which is considered as customs territory. So let's break down the section 814. The law says the imported goods shall be admitted into a free zone when a goods declaration and so on. So this is related to the admission of goods into a free zone. So again, what is a free zone? It is a special economic areas in the Philippines created by law. Okay? So for example, yung mga Clark Freeport Zone, Subic Bay Freeport Zone, Pensa Eco Zone, no? Yung mga yan. And goods stored or processed here are treated as being outside ng Philippine Customs Territory for tax purposes only. Okay, so the rule for entry, bago yung imported goods cross the border into a free zone, si importer must electronically file a goods declaration for admission. Okay, with both the BOC and Free Zone Authority. Next, imported goods shall be withdrawn from the free zone for entry to the customs territory and so on. Okay, this is related with the withdrawal from the free zone into customs territory. What customs territory? What is the customs territory? So this is the regular area of the Philippines where normal domestic taxes, VAT, and customs laws apply. Okay? So the rule for exit, let's say if a factory inside ng Freeport Zone gusto niyang ibenta yung kanyang product sa buyer niya sa local market ng Philippines, no? It is moving goods from duty-free area into domestic territory. So what is the requirement? No, they must electronically lodge a goods declaration for consumption. Yung kanina, goods declaration for admission pag pupunta na sa pag ipapasok na siya sa uh, Freeport Zone. Ito naman, pag ilalabas mo na siya, so kailangan mo nang mag-lodge electronically ng goods declaration for consumption. And also, pay the necessary import duties and 12% VAT and obtain permits before the truck can leave the Freeport gate. Next, as to Section 815 outlines the legal tax-free status of goods brought into a Philippine or into a free zone in the Philippines. Okay, So let's break down the section 815. So this is about the core privilege or duty and tax exemption. So what it means, when a foreign goods, machinery, or raw materials land in the Philippines and go directly into a registered free zone, so no VAT or customs duty is collected. So the goal here is this incentive encourages the global companies para magtayo sila dito ng kanilang factories and also mag-assembly ng plant nila dito and regional hubs, no, dito sa Philippines. And the result of that, it will create 1,000 of jobs for the Filipinos. Okay, so what are free zones in the Philippines? Again, free zone refers to a specific economic areas na created by specific laws and governed by their respective authorities such as Freeport zones, no, and PEZA eco zones. Next, unless otherwise provided by law and in accordance with the respective laws, rules, and regulations. So the catch here, the exemption is not free for all pass. Okay? To keep this tax-free privilege, companies must be a registered locator with a valid certificate of registration from the Free Zone Authority and follow the specific guidelines of that free zone. Let's say keeping proper inventory or preventing unauthorized leaks into local markets. Next, section 816. Okay, so this establishes the paperwork and permits rules governing how goods move into, out of, and between free zones in the Philippines. Okay, so first, the entry of goods into a free zone, whether directly or through the customs territory, shall be covered by necessary goods declaration for admission or transit. So, as to the direct admission, no, goods arriving straight from a foreign port papunta sa free zone must be covered by a goods declaration for admission. Next is yung mga goods arriving at a regular port, let's say yung Port of Manila, that need to travel across public roads to reach yung free zone, let's say papunta siya sa Clark Freeport Zone, must be covered by a goods declaration for transit. Next, withdrawal from the free zone into the customs territory shall be covered by a necessary goods declaration for consumption or warehousing. So when the goods leave a duty-free zone to enter the regular Philippine market, taxes applies. Okay? To do this legally, the owner must file a goods declaration for consumption. So used when goods are entering the local market directly for sale or use. So you need to pay the full duties and VAT, full duties and taxes. And yung goods declaration for warehousing naman, ginagamit yon when goods are being moved to a customs banded warehouse elsewhere. Next, transfer of goods from one free zone into another free zone shall likewise be covered by a necessary transfer permit. So, kung free zone to free zone, moving of goods from, let's say, one duty-free location to another. So, let's say from Subic papunta kay Clark Freeport. Okay, so does not trigger local import taxes, but it requires a transit permit, no? Just to ensure na yung cargo is not secretly unloaded along highway into the local market. Next is the implementing rules and regulations. So this is the collaboration of the Bureau of Customs and a specific zone, free zone authorities such as yung mga PEZA, SBMA, no? They must create and enforce these rules together para ma-ensure na merong seamless electronic monitoring and tracking. Next, so Section 817 establishes the mandatory interagency coordination between the BOC and the various governing authorities of the free zone, because free zone operate as a tax-free, no, and managed by their own administration. So the law ensures that the BOC and free zone authorities work hand in hand rather than in silos. Okay, so first, to ensure compliance with customs laws and regulations, the Bureau shall coordinate with the governing authority of the free zone. So the goal here, seamless enforcement of customs laws without disrupting legitimate business operations inside that economic zones. So who will coordinate? So the Bureau, which is the Bureau of Customs, and the free zone authorities, which is yung PEZA, which is the Philippine Economic Zone Authority, SBMA, Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority, CDC or Clark Development Corporation, CEZA, Cagayan Economic Zone Authority, and FAV, which is the authority of the Freeport area of Bataan. Okay. So, to make this law work, si BOC and si Free Zone Authorities, mag-share sila ng data, magkakandak sila ng joint inspections, and mag-issue sila ng joint memorandum circulars covering yung kanilang interconnected electronic data sharing, no? Which is nililink, which is related to linking the BOC's E2M directly with PESA or SBMA online clearance system. So, nakalink na yung system ni BOC and ni Freeport Free Zone Authorities. Okay, and joint gate inspection, so having both BOC customs officers and Free Zone police stationed at Ecozone entry or exit gates. And anti-smuggling audits, so they will share inventory records to ensure duty-free materials are not illegally leaking into the local Philippine market. Okay, so to sum up the sections 801 to 817 of the CMTA, no? So this is the detailed infographic that synthesizes the core principles of the CMTA sections 801 to 817. So this visually explains how the Philippine Customs Framework balances the support for manufacturing and investing with necessary revenue controls. Okay, so dual zone framework, so it shows the two separate but complementary paths for imported goods. So for the customs banded warehouse, section 801 to 813 focused on conditional tax deferral for manufacturing, strict time limits, for example 1 year or less, and an exhaustive accounting and audit trail. And for the free zones, section 814 to 817 focused on creating duty-free investment and growth zones, which is the PEZA or the SBMA, and utilizing electronic permit systems for seamless movement and requiring close interagency coordination with the Bureau of Customs and zone authorities. Okay, so the golden rule of final destination. No? So the tax exemption is conditional on the final destination of the goods. Okay, a concept here highlighted at the bottom. No? If re-exported, so the goods are 100% tax-free. Now, this achieves the primary goal of the framework to boost the Philippine export competitiveness. If those goods are re-exported, but if withdrawn for the local market, duties and VAT must be paid. Okay, so this is to protect the domestic market and ensures necessary government revenue is collected when goods enter the domestic circulations. Okay, so thank you for listening.